Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute little polar bear. He is what I consider a no-sew body pattern, which means we are going to start by making his arms, then we're going to make his legs, then we're going to start at the top of his head, work our way down, attach the arms, work on the body, add the eyes, the legs, stuff and clothes, and then we will have to sew on the ears, the muzzle, the nose, and any little bits of embroidering that we decide to do. And then we'll finish him off by making him a little removable hat and scarf. For this video I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we are going to start with the arm, and you can begin your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making a knot with the loop on the end. So what I do is I fold my yarn in half. I'm going to pinch it up at the top, wrap that around my finger, down and through to create a knot, and I'm going to pinch that loop, and I'm just going to slide that knot all the way up so that that loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. And you're going to insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then pull on that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 8 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4 in the same stitch. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10. Increase 11 and 12. Increase 13 and 14. And our last increase 15 and 16. Row 3, we are going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 4, we are going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 5, we are going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 6, we are going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 7, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, and repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12. Row 8, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 9, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 10, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5. And then repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10. Row 11, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 12, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 13, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 14, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 15, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 16, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 17, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 18, we are going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we can take our hook out and our stitch marker out. And we're going to add some stuffing. All right, we're going to start by putting a little amount into the bottom of the arm or the hand. We're just going to stick that down right to the bottom. If you can't get in there, try using some scissors or a stick, crochet hook maybe. So I'm just going to stuff that nice and firm so it kind of comes into a bit of a ball shape. And then we're just going to lightly stuff up the arm. So you want it to keep its round shape, but you don't want it to be so stuffed that when you put it onto the bear, you don't want it to be sticking straight out. You want it to bend down. So just kind of move that stuffing around so that it's not super stiff. Then when you're happy with it, see, I can kind of squish it a bit. We'll close it up. So get your hook back in. And you're going to go into the next stitch. Then you're going to go into the back stitch on the other side. And we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, and make sure you're going through both sides of the stitch, and then 1 single crochet. So you'll have 3 stitches. To close that up, then tie off, but leave yourself a little bit of a tail. Even though I am not sewing these on, when we attach them, I do something with these little strings afterwards to keep them a little bit more secure. Now, if you have just finished your first arm, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second arm. And if you've finished your second arm, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, now we're going to start at the bottom of the foot. And again, you can begin your rounds any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making a knot with the loop on the end. Insert my hook. Grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase, 9 and 10, and on our last increase we're going to do 11, and on our 12th one we're going to go in that same stitch, grab our yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook because we're going to change color now. We're going to cut our darker color or whatever color you use for the pad. Make sure you leave enough of a string for tying. Now you're going to grab your new color and you're going to tie that to your old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And you're going to grab that new color with your hook, pull it through those 2 loops on your hook to finish off that last stitch of the previous row. Now for row 3, you are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. Make sure you're going in the next stitch. 1, 2, and an increase, 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 6, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 7, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we are going to start off with 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do 6 invisible decreases. And for invisible decrease, you're going to grab the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So you're going to come down, up through the middle of that V, come around and grab the middle of the next V. So you've got the 2 front loops. Grab your yarn, pull through those 2 front loops, grab your yarn again and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1 invisible decrease. Grab your front loops, grab your yarn and pull through those front loops, grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. That's 2. Another invisible decrease. That's 3. Invisible decrease. That's 4. Invisible decrease. That's 5. Invisible decrease. That's 6. And then we should have 6 single crochets left to finish off the row for a total of 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Row 9, we are going to start off with 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to do 6 invisible decreases. So remember the first 2 front loops of the next stitches. That's 1 invisible decrease. That's 2 invisible decrease. That's 3 invisible decrease. That's 4 invisible decrease. That's 5 invisible decrease. That's 6, and then we should have 3 stitches left for a total of 12. So 1, 2, 3. Row 10, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 11, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 12, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 13, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 14, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 15, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 16, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 17, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 18, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, we're finished the leg now, so we can take our hook out and our stitch marker out. We're going to add some stuffing, so grab that and get that ready. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is try and stuff into the toe of your foot. So you want to have that facing up, or that's how I do it anyways. And you're going to be using the palm of your hand to kind of keep the foot flat. And you're going to put your stuffing into the leg, and you are just going to kind of, once you get it down there, you're just going to kind of scoop your finger up into the toes like this and push that stuffing up. And then just keep adding into the toes till you're happy with where they are. So you do want it firm, but you don't want to be stretching your stitches. All right, so for me that's good enough. So now I am going to add a little bit down into the heel of the foot. As I'm doing this, I'm just going to mention, I noticed as I was going up the leg, you could see the black string from here, so make sure that black string is tucked down so you don't see it later on. So now I'm just going into the bottom of the heel. And then when you feel like that's kind of firm and the same all the way around, you're going to start going up the leg, and you're going to stuff it till you get to about the last 2 rows. So a little bit more maybe. So these last 2 rows I have no stuffing in, so that when we close it down, it kind of goes into a triangle shape. And then that way, when it's sitting down, his little tummy can come up and around, and it's not going to make him want to flip backwards. Now we're going to put our hook back in. And just like we did the arm, we're going to go into the next stitch. And then the last stitch on the other side. And we're going to do 5 single crochets across, making sure you go through both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to tie that off, and again leave a little bit of a tail. I don't do a lot with these ends, but I do tie them on the inside so they're more secure. Now, if you've just finished your first leg, I again will be putting a screenshot in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second leg. And if you've finished your second leg, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, now we're going to start at the top of the head, and again, you can begin your rounds any way you prefer. As long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1, I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we are going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull on that tail to close that hole if you need to. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. Increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10. And our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, increase, 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5, and repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. Row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, and repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and our last increase, 35 and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase, 6 and 7, and repeat that all the way around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and our last increase, 41 and 42. Row 8, we are going to do 6 single crochets, a 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 48. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and an increase, 7 and 8, and repeat that around. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, increase, 31 and 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, increase, 39 and 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, and our last increase, 47 and 48. Row 9, we are going to do 48 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Row 10, we are going to do 48 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Row 11, we are going to do 48 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Row 12, we are going to do 48 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Row 13, we are going to do 48 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Row 14, we are going to do 48 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Row 15, we are going to do 48 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Row 16, we are going to do 6 single crochets, a 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a decrease for 7, and repeat that around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and a decrease for 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and a decrease for 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and a decrease for 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and a decrease for 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and a decrease for 42. Row 17, we are going to do 5 single crochets, a 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, and repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and a decrease for 36. Row 18, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 19, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, oops, still 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Row 20, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, repeat that around, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Row 21, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, we're going to be doing the arms next, so you're going to want to grab those, get those ready. And I am going to change my camera angle so we can see a little bit better. And I will meet you right back. Okie dokie. Row 22, we are going to start off by doing 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to grab your first arm and you want to make sure that your strings are facing towards the front. So where your stitch marker is and where you just started, that's the back. So you want your strings facing the front. And we're going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the head. So into the arm, into the next stitch of the head. That's 1. Into the arm, into the next stitch of the head. That's 2. Into the arm, and into the next stitch of the head. That's 3. And then we're going to do 6 single crochets across. Make sure you're in the next stitch because it's really easy to go in the same one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you're going to grab your other arm, and again, this is the back where your stitch marker is. This is the front where you just did your 6 single crochets. You got your strings facing the front. And you're going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the head. 1, into the arm, into the next stitch of the head. That's 2, into the arm, into the next stitch of the head. That's 3. And then you should have 3 single crochets left to finish off the row for a total of 18. 1, 2, 3. Row 23, we are going to be doing 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeating that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, and an increase for 3 and 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7, and 8. And as you're going around these strings for your arms, you want to make sure they stay on the outside because that's where we'll need them for later. 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. 4. Row 24, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 25, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5, and repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. Row 26, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5 and 6. Repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, and an increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and our last increase, 35 and 36. All right, we're going to take our hook out now. We're going to add our eyes. So grab those and get those ready. So what we want to do first is flatten him out so he's nice and even so we can find our row and our center. And our eyes are going to be going between rows 10 and 11. So what you're going to do is find your first starting loop. That's row 1. And you're going to count down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right here between rows 10 and 11. Now we're just finding our row right there. Now we need to find the center of that row. So what I usually do is I kind of use my neck stitches. So right where my arms were attached, I just go over counting the holes till I get to the center. So that's my center on the neck. Then I find my center on the top, and it looks like I need to go at least one more over. I think that's about center for me. So I'm going to grab one of my eyes, and we are going to count over 4 holes from this center hole. So if you're at right where your pin is, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And in that 4th hole, you're going to put your eye. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So your pin is your center hole. 1 over, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole. So it should look like this. And then just have a look before you commit to putting them in. Make sure they are in the center for you. I'm having a hard time seeing around my camera thing. I think they're okay. So let's put the backs on. And if you have a hard time putting the eyes on when you're this far down, what you're going to do is you're going to put your thumb right on that eye. Push it up through the neck, not hard, just gently up through the neck so you can access it. And then you're going to put your back on. And then you're just going to squeeze that nice and tight. Sorry, I hurt my thumb and I can't squeeze with it, so I think I got it. Do the same thing on the other side. Thumb on the eye, up through the center. Put your back on your eye. And then we'll just squeeze that nice and tight. And there we go. And now let's get our hook back in. You can start stuffing now if you need to, if you struggle when it gets further down. I'm going to be going to just before I add the legs to add stuffing, but you can sure stuff as you go, starting now. Now for row 27, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 28, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 29, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 30, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 31, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 32, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. All right, we're going to add a little bit of stuffing to the head now if you haven't already. All right, so we want to have a lot of stuffing up in the head, nice and firm. A lot of our stuffing, for me, when I make mine, kind of shapes the head because I don't do a lot of shaping with my stitches. So you want to pack that nice and tight up at the top, above the eyes. Whoopsie. And then once you get about halfway into your head, you're just going to kind of start sticking your fingers kind of out and around. And I like to hold on to the neck just above the arms, and that will help keep your stitches from spreading at the neckline. So now I'm just kind of feeling where I have a hole. I definitely need a little bit more in there yet. I do tend to overstuff my heads a little bit, so be wary of that. think I need to fix my tripod here. Thingy. And all the while, keep making sure that the head is staying nice and round or a little bit on the wider side. But you don't want it to be lumpy. I'm going to put a little bit more in. This is where it's okay. I think that's enough. So make sure it's still staying round. Now you can put a little bit up in here. I'm going to wait till after the legs are on, just so I have room to move around. But when you do that, make sure you're just like bunting it up to the head. You don't want to be putting your stuffing in the neck, and that will help keep your neck nice and small. All right, let's get our hook back in. And for row 33, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 34, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Okay, now we're going to do the legs up next. So we're going to grab those and get those ready. All right, so for row 35, we are going to start off with 8 single crochets. And if you're left-handed, you may be doing this whole row backwards. Whoop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that should bring you to the very center side. So you should be right in the middle of where your arm is. And that will make sure that your legs are centered. If you have to adjust by a stitch or two, you'll just adjust at the end to subtract or add whatever you did on this side. So if you did 9 on this side, you'd have 1 less on this side from what I have. All right, so grab your one leg, and you want to make sure that the toes are facing the body because he's upside down, and when you flip him over, you want those toes pointed up. So with the toes facing the body, you're going to go into the leg, into the body, and we're going to do 5 single crochets across. So 1, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 2, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 3, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 4, into the leg, and then into the next stitch of the body, that's 5. And then you're going to flip that leg string to the inside for later. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets across. Make sure you're in the right stitch, not the same one. So 1, 2, and now you're going to grab your other leg. Again, make sure the toes are facing down to the body. And you're going to do 5 single crochets through the leg and the body. So into the leg, next stitch of the body, that's 1, into the leg, next stitch of the body, that's 2, into the leg, to the next stitch of the body, that's 3, into the leg, next stitch of the body, that's 4, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 5. And again, put that string to the inside, and then you should have 4 single crochets left to finish off the row for a total of 24, unless you had to adjust on this side to get your legs centered. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then let's tie these up here. So we're just going to put a knot in here loosely. We don't want to pull them tight. You want it to be just resting against the inside of the body, because if you pull them tight, you don't want your legs to be smushed up like that. So gently a couple of times, nice and loose, and then tighten as you go. Just keep on going until you can pull it without that knot sliding. Then we'll cut those off so they're out of our way. At this point, you can add a little bit more stuffing if you want to. I usually wait until I'm about my second last row. There's only 3 rows left, so you decide how much you want to put in. I usually need a little space to finish doing my crochets, so I can't have too much stuffing in my way. All right, put your hook back in. Now for row 36, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. We're going to repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, and repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6. Sorry if my hands are in the way. 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Row 37, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 decrease for 2, 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and our last decrease for 12. And we just have 1 row left now. So if you need to, you're going to want to add the last of your stuffing. So when I do mine, I want to make sure so he sits flat. We don't want it rounded out on the bottom. So I'm going to stick a lot of stuffing back here, which will help keep him from tipping over. So I'm just going to start adding and kind of squish it down towards the back side. I'm kind of just separating my fingers, and they're kind of making a hole in the middle. I don't know if you can tell. So I'm going like this, making kind of a hole in the middle, and then I stuff what I need to down into the hole. So for now, I'm going to leave it like this and finish it off. And then if I need to add a little bit more in there, when I only have 6 stitches, I can just kind of stick it straight down in. Had a little slip here. Let's pull that back through. Yeah. Strings everywhere. All right, I guess we're ready to do row 38, 6 decreases. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, and 6 decreases. And then you're just going to slip stitch into this next stitch. Tie off, leave yourself enough of a tail to sew this hole closed and put it up through the back somewhere. Oh, okay. There we go. We're getting there. All right, let's close up the bottom now. We'll take our stitch marker out. Yeah. Grab our darning needle. Thread that on. And what you're going to do is you're just going to weave in and out of these top loops all the way around. If you're doing this in plush yarn, try going like about halfway around and then stopping, pulling, and going the rest of the way around. So once you're all the way around, you're just going to pull that nice and tight. Go into the next stitch. Tie your knot. I only do 1, but if you want to do 2, do that. And then once you have it all the way, go down into the center and then just out the back somewhere. Give that a cut. I'm gonna need those in a second. Let's do the arm strings next. So you're just going to thread one of those on. Doesn't matter which one because they both are the same way. And you're going to find where your knot is here and where the hole is right in front of it. And you're just going to come out the back center. And then you're going to do this same thing on the other side. So you're going to thread your needle. Find your knot where your other arm was attached. Go in that hole, out the back, center. I guess I didn't get very centered here, but it'll still work. So the same hole as your other string came out. You're going to tie those one time. Keep track of these ends. What I do is I wrap them around the neck. Flip my little guy around. Now you're going to tighten these strings, and what that's going to do is bring these knots and this loosey part of the arms, it's going to bring them in and forward, and then they'll be a little more secure. Just make sure that both sides the knot's in. And then pull them till they're wherever you feel like you want them. Be careful not to snap your string. And when you're happy with it, flip them back over and then tie it a couple of times to secure that. And then you're just gonna, oh wait, we gotta put those in. See, I shouldn't have left the scissors there. All right. put them down and out, anywhere in the back. And then give them a cut. Okay, we're going to be making the muzzle now, and we'll be starting with a chain. You can do your chain any way you prefer. I'm going to be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, and we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now starting in the second chain from the hook, this is going to be one of our ends. We're going to do 1 single crochet. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets in this end chain, but we're going to pivot around so we end up on the back side of our chain. So 1, pivot a little bit, 2. You're going to pivot all the way around so you're on the other side of your chain. 3. All in the same stitch on that end. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2. And then in this end stitch, we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2. And then it should look like this. Now grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And then in our first stitch we made on the other side now, we're going to do 1 increase in the end. So that's 1 and 2 in that same stitch. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2. Then we're going to do 3 increases around this end. So 1 increase, 2 increases, 3 increases. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and we're going to do 2 increases on this end. So 1 increase, 2 increases. So now it's going to look like this. Row 3, we're going to do 1 single crochet and 1 increase on this end. So 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and now we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase 3 times around this end. So 1 single crochet, 1 increase, that's 1 time, 1 single crochet, 1 increase, that's 2 times, 1 single crochet, 1 increase, that's 3 times. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets across, 1, 2, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase 2 times on this end. So 1 single crochet, 1 increase, that's 1 time, 1 single crochet, 1 increase, that's 2 times. And now it should be looking like this. Row 4, we are going to do 22 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Row 5, we are going to do 22 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Row 6, we're going to do 22 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. We're going to tie off. You want to leave yourself enough of a tail to sew this on. So what I like to do is when it's doubled, I wrap it around at least one time with some extra, and then also leave some extra on the end. That should give you more than enough. We can also take our stitch marker out. Okay, now we're going to add the muzzle. So we want to add a little bit of stuffing. We want it to be on the firmer side, but we also don't want our stuffing to be popping out of it. So to begin with, just make sure that it's kind of nice and level with the edges here. You can always add a little bit more when you get down to your last few stitches. And what we're going to do is line it up one row under where we added the eyes. So we added the eyes on this row right here. We're going to line it up with the row just underneath. So just make sure it's kind of centered on each side with the eyes. And if you're happy with it, we're going to put a couple of pins in straight across into that row that we just lined it up with. So I'm going in every other stitch here. And to me that seems nice and centered. So now I'm going to tip it down and I'm going to pin the bottom. And I'm not going in any certain place, just wherever it sits naturally. So I'm about 1, 2, 3-ish rows from the neck, where the neck is at its narrowest. Then I'm just going to add some pins down there to hold that in place. Then again, I'm going to have a quick look, make sure it's still centered. And if I'm happy with it, I'm going to continue pinning. And I'm making sure I'm going underneath the 2 loops of the stitch, the V there, going in and then tipping my pin at an angle so that it stays where I put it. So I'm going to put a couple of stitches on this side, or sorry, pins. And I'm going to put a couple of pins on the other side. Again, I'm always holding it there with my thumb, making sure that it's staying kind of in place. And then again, have another look. Make sure it's the shape you want it to be. And I'm happy with that. You can always put more pins in too. The more pins you put in, the less it's going to move on you. And another trick, if you find your arms and legs are always in your way when you're adding on pieces, I'm just going to take a big elastic, wrap it around a couple of times, and then all those things will stay out of your way as you're going around. All right, so let's grab our darning needle now, and we'll thread that one end on. We're going to start by going down right where our knot is, around the stitch just underneath of it, and coming straight out. Now there is a reason why I don't come up into the muzzle, and that's just because if you're squishing it around, especially if you're new to sewing stuff on, your nose is going to move around a lot more. So if you go kind of make it 2 steps instead of 1 step, you'll have a lot more success. So I'm going to go back down, and I'm staying underneath, so you won't see these stitches here. Underneath, coming out just on the side of where my muzzle meets my face. Then I'm going to come back into the next stitch. Down into the next stitch, going around a piece of the head and coming out. And go up the next stitch, and you're just going to continue that all the way around, and every once in a while just double checking that nothing is moving around on you. If it is, add a couple more pins. I guess while I'm doing this, I'm just going to mention that I do have a Facebook craft page. If you ever want to share anything you've made with me, the link is down in the description. You don't have to join or anything, but you do have to comment on a post that's already there. And if you ever see anything in the background, I have a video for everything that's out here. You just got to go to my channel page and click videos and then scroll on down. Sometimes it doesn't show them all. Sometimes it like shows 20 instead of a couple of hundred. So if there is something that you're wondering about, if I have it, you can always ask down in the comments too, and I can go find the link for you. Alright, we're getting down around to where we started here soon. So I'm going to do a couple more stitches and I'll just show you how I add a little bit more stuffing at the end. So I'm going to come down one more time. And then back out. So I have about a ½ an inch here left. So I'm just going to remove that pin. Grab a little bit of stuffing, and then you can just use your finger to stick it down in there. If you have a hard time doing that with your finger, you can just grab your scissors and push them back in. I'm actually going to put a little bit more in. But when you're doing this, do make sure that you're making it the same on both sides. You don't want to have it really full on one side and not the other, and then it's kind of crooked. Maybe a touch more. Just make sure you're not stretching your stitches. And if you're using a different color than your stuffing, also watch these stitches right here. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think that's okay. I want it to be a little longer instead of wider. So that's why I added more stuffing. We got a couple more stitches to go now. So down and around. So I think my knot's right here, so I'm going to come back up just a little bit past where my original knot is, where I started, just so that I can tie it down lower where you won't see it. I'm just going to come down here a little bit. I'm on the bottom. I'm going to try and find a stitch, so I have a stitch right there. So that's one of my sewing stitches, not any of my crocheting stitches. I'm just going to tie my knot there. You can do it twice if you want. I just do it once for videoing. Give it a good pull. And then try and hide that knot back down underneath and out the back. Ouch. Oh, sorry. Okay. Then we're going to give that a cut. All right, now we're going to do his little nose and mouth. So we're going to start by going into a loop. So you can make your loop any way you prefer. I'll be doing the knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, chain one, remembering that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop, and for this row 1 we are going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now if you want yours to be a different kind of shape like this, you can always leave it like this, but I'm going to be joining mine into the next stitch, and then I'm going to just kind of shape mine with my pins. So again, leave yourself enough of a tail. Not only are we going to be sewing this on, but we're also going to use the same string to make our mouth. So leave quite a bit extra. So I probably got 3 lengths of this guy if you held it alongside of him. Alright, I think I'm going to set him free, and hopefully his arms and legs aren't in my way for this part. Alright, so now we're going to pin it about 3 rows down on the muzzle. So 1, 2, 3, right about there in the center. And then we'll just add a couple of pins. So I'm going to add 1 at the top center. Then I'm going to come over to the side and I'm just going to pull this over a bit. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Pull that stitch over a bit, and that'll kind of give me a straight top and then a rounded bottom. I don't know, it's a little hard to see here. I think I'm also going to get rid of this beginning tail just so it's not in our way. And then just put a couple of pins down at the bottom to keep it a bit of a point. I might fix that a little bit different. Alright, once you're happy with it, grab your darning needle. I'm going to just put a couple more in just so it don't move on me. Alright, so we're going to start by going straight down under the nose. We're going to come over just a little bit so we can get into that next stitch. And we're just like we did the muzzle, we're just going to go up and down. And you might be pulling the nose around as you go. So like where I have this corner pin, I'm going to be pulling it over and out. Going back down in that same spot and then coming out in the middle so that I can do the center of the nose. And don't worry if your nose looks different, as long as you're happy with how it turned out. Might end up being a circle for me anyway. But I'm going to try and pull it over a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a circle. That's okay. I don't mind a circle nose too. Just remember to stay underneath your nose when you're coming out so that you don't see the stitches. Alright, so I'm back at the beginning again. I'm going to come, I can't remember. I don't know why I can never remember how I do my nose to my mouth, but I'm going to go one more time up and around. And then I need to be right in the center. And I think I come down 2 rows. So this is our starting chain. So I'm going to skip this row and I'm going to come into this row. But we want to make sure it's nice and straight down. Because we're going to come back up and we need that line to be straight. So that looks okay to me. So you're going to come back in your nose. And now you're going to come over a stitch or 2. Let's see, let's do 1 stitch. So I came out here, I've got a hole, and I'm coming out the next hole. Then we're going to come underneath that line we just made. And then we need to do the same thing on this side. So that's where we were when we came out with our center one. We skipped a hole and then we went into this one. And we're just going to come up here somewhere where we can tie and hide it. So I'm just coming up to the top of the nose here. I don't want to pull that too tight. I just want a little bit of a V on the bottom, just like that. And then we're just going to find a stitch in here that we can tie onto. Again, it's not a, here it is. It's not a stitch in my nose, it's one of my sewing stitches. We want that nice and tight. And then we're going to come back down in under the nose and then out somewhere out the back to tie. I need a longer needle. So I can't pinch that. There we go. Then you might just have to play with it a little bit, get it how you want it. And we'll cut this off. Save this when you have a long black or white. Save these strings because you can always use them for eyebrows, which I think we're going to do right now. Or the little whites under the eyes if you're doing that. Oh, so first we better shape the eyes closer together. So what we're going to do, grab a matching string to your body. So this is just what I clipped off when I did the arms. So this is a scrap piece. And you're going to start somewhere in the center. You're going to come up right close to the inside middle of the eye. This is the row that I would have attached the eyes in. You're going to pull about half your string through. And if you can, you're going to wrap around the eye. If you can't, you're going to just skip the wrap around and go in one stitch below where you just were. So we went in right there. We're going to come out right here and go in and over to the other side. Going to the other side, about a 45-degree angle to the eye. So we're matching this stitch right here. And we're going to go around this eye if you can. Back in that same spot, so we're matching this stitch where we started, and we're going to come out here. Now you're going to tie these one time. And you're going to pull the eyes in together, but you're also going to use your fingers. How is this going to work with no thumb? So usually I'd be pushing down and pulling with my thumb. So, shoot. Just make sure they're not so close together that they look cross-eyed, but you want this kind of bump to show up. Sorry. Maybe I should have waited a day before I did this. Mine are definitely close enough together, so I don't want them any closer. I tie it a couple of times and then we'll put those ends back in. So take those back out. The back. We'll give that a cut. You may have to come back and fix right here where your knot was. So you're just going to kind of lift it up. You may have to squish these stitches around a little bit just to hide that hole. There. Starting to look like something now. Okay, now we'll do the eyebrows. So just thread on your black or whatever color you're using. And we're just going to go one row up on the inside of the eye. So one row up, And we're going to come over to this side on the inside of the eye. But before we do, we want to go down, grab some stuffing and come up. And then that way you're not going to see the black line of this yarn going across. You want to take about half of it through. So you have the same amount on both sides. And you can play around, see where you want your eyebrows to be. But I know that I want mine to go about one hole back and one row down. So we're going to come one row down and we're going to come 1 or 2 holes back from this eye. I'm going to consider this my first eye, or sorry, my first hole, because sometimes the stitches are a little funny when you're crocheting around. Then I'm just going to come out somewhere in the middle. Again, I grabbed a bunch of stuffing so that you don't see the black line. Now I need to do the same thing with this eyebrow. We'll just thread it on. And this time the holes will be a little different. So this is going to be my first hole, where this was my first hole here. And that will keep them even. And then grab some stuffing, dig down, and then come up. And hopefully they're even. If they're not, but they're really close, you can always pull one a little more or loosen one a little more. I think they're pretty good. One just seems a little thinner than the other. If you're happy with them, you're going to give them a loose tie, because you don't want to pull these any tighter if you have them exactly how you want them already. Then we're just going to thread these ends on. Go in and out the back somewhere. You want to pull this gently, so what I do is I like to watch as the knot goes through, and then just pull these ends gently out. Once it's through, just kind of fix these little stitches again. Cut this end without pulling. Then you're just going to take your needle to get rid of that. You're going to go in, swoop down, and you won't see that there anymore. All right, now we're going to do the ears. So again, you can start any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in round 1. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, chain 1. Remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we are going to do 8 single crochets into the loop over top of the tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then pull on that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 8 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, increase 11 and 12, increase, 13 and 14, and our last increase, 15 and 16. Row 3, we are going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 4, we are going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 5, 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now we are going to close it up. So let's take out our stitch marker. And we're going to start by going into the next stitch and then the last stitch on the other side. And we're going to be doing one decrease. Then we're going to do 3 single crochets together. So it's just like a decrease, but you go in 3 times instead of 2 times. So in, grab your yarn, in the next stitch, grab your yarn, and then in the next stitch, grab your yarn. So you should have 4 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn and then go through all 4 loops. Then you should have 2 stitches left, and you're going to do a decrease on that side. 1, 2 for your decrease. And that will give you 3 stitches. Then you're going to tie off. Leave yourself enough of a tail so that you can sew the ears on. Isn't that the cutest little ear? Whoop. So if you have just finished your first ear, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp, so you can go back and do your second ear. And then if you've done your second ear, just keep on watching and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, we're going to sew the ears on now. And if you're a little worried that your hat holes aren't going to line up with your ears, you can always skip and sew them on after you're done your hat. Put your hat on and then place them where they're going to go. I'm going to be brave and I'm going to sew mine on right now. So I'm going to thread on one ear. Actually, let's put a pin in too. So we're going to pin, we're going to go straight across in between rows 3 and 4. So this is your first row where your loop was. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3. And in right here, just kind of even with the middle of your loop, that's where I'm going to be putting my first pin, and I'm going to be sewing from the hole under behind it. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put my pin right there. So they're nice and even. They're kind of, if you look down, they're right even with the ear or the arms on both sides. You can double check this way too if you're not sure. And also in the front. If you're happy with where they are, let's start putting them on. It's only 3 stitches, so we're going to start by coming behind the ear, or behind the pin. Sorry, it's been a while since I did animals, and I am not on my game here. We'll take the pin out now, and you're going to go straight into the first single crochet right there. Now I'm going to wrap around one more time, because I also want to catch a little piece over here. So see how this is like this? These are our 3 single crochets right here. I don't want this little mess just sticking out, so I'm going to come over in there too, so I can pull that down and make it more of a nice little curve. Now you're going to go down 1 row around the stitch. Then you're going to go into that second single crochet that you used to close the ear. You're going to go down 1 more row and around the next stitch. And then into that last single crochet. Now if you need to, you can do the same thing you did up here. Go around 1 more time. And then just catch up here somewhere. And then we're going to tie it right close to the bottom middle in one of my stitches for sewing. I'll tie a knot. And again, if you're not sure, don't tie it yet. You can leave them just like this without tying, and they're not too bad to take off if you need to. Tie your knot. Go down into the hole close to the ear. Then you're going to come out the middle center, kind of even with whatever row you're on if you can. So I'm just going to come out here. All right, so there's one ear. Let's get our other ear. Thread that on. And remember, we went behind the pin on this one. So we're going to go behind the pin on this one and around that stitch in the first row. Come through. We can get rid of our pin now. And if you went around twice, we're going to go in that first one. Come back in that same stitch so we can go up higher and catch a piece of the ear up here. We're going to go down 1 row around the next stitch into the middle single crochet. Down 1 more row and around the stitch and into the last single crochet. And again, I went around twice on the other side, so I'm going to go around twice on this side. Catch up here somewhere just to keep that curve nice in the ear. And then we'll tie it nice and tight down to one of our stitches. behind the ear and out wherever your other ear string ended up. Now, usually I would take these strings and just like we did the arms, I would be pulling them and tying them nice and tight and closed. But because I'm doing the hat, we're not going to do that this time. We're just going to tie them loosely. But if you're not doing a hat, you can give it a try. And it kind of shapes the head a little bit too. And then we'll just thread those back on in that same hole and then out somewhere through the head. Cut those off. All right, we're going to do the hat now, and we're going to be going in the rounds. You can start your rounds any way you prefer, but do leave a bit of a tail first, just in case you want to weave that end in. I'm going to be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain one. And remember, that doesn't count as a stitch. That's just attaching your yarn to your loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 half double crochets into the loop. And a half double crochet is basically the same as a single crochet, only you're going to yarn over first. So yarn over, go into your loop, grab your yarn, pull up. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn and go through those 3 loops. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're going to go into the next stitch. So your very first one, you're going to slip stitch, and then you're going to chain 1 to start your next row. Row 2, you're going to do 6 half double crochet increases, so that'll be 2 half double crochets in every stitch all the way around. So starting in that same stitch you just slip stitched in, half double crochet increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase again, 3 and 4, increase again, 5 and 6, increase, 7 and 8, increase, 9 and 10, increase, 11 and 12. Excuse me. It's going to look like you have an extra stitch there. That's what we call a false stitch. If you go on the same stitch you slip stitched in. So don't worry about that stitch as long as you have the right count all the way around, and then you're going to slip stitch into that next stitch and chain 1. Row 3, you're going to do 12 half double crochets all the way around for a total of 24. So half double crochet increase, 1 and 2, increase, 3 and 4, increase, 5 and 6, increase, 7 and 8, increase, 9 and 10, increase, 11 and 12, increase, 13 and 14, increase, 15 and 16, increase, 17 and 18, increase, 19 and 20, increase, 21 and 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. And then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch and chain 1. Row 4, you are going to do 3 half double crochets, 1 half double crochet increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. And again, starting in the same stitch you slip stitched, 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets, 3 half double crochets, and the half double crochet increase for 4 and 5, and then repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase. Oops, I caught something. I'm still on my increase. I don't know what I'm catching there. 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30, and then slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 1. Okay, now we're going to start making the little slots for the ears. So we're going to do what I'm going to call them rows, the front rows 5, 6, and 7, back and forth on one side, and then we're going to tie that off, and we're going to come and attach yarn and go back rows 5, 6, and 7 on this side. So front row 5, we are going to do 1 increase. So in that same stitch we slip stitched, we're doing a half double crochet increase, and then we're going to do 5 half double crochets across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to do a half double crochet increase in this next stitch. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then you're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. Front row 6, we're going to do 1 increase in this first stitch. So that's 1 half double crochet increase. And then we're going to do 7 half double crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we got to do an increase in this last stitch. Try and get under both sides of the V in the stitch if you can. So that's 1 and 2 half double crochets in that last stitch. And you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn again. Front row 7, we are going to do 1 half double crochet increase in that first stitch. So 1 and 2 in that same stitch. And then we're going to do 9 half double crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we're going to do a half double crochet increase in this last stitch, and again try and get under both sides of the stitch if the V. That's 1 and 2 half double crochets. All right, now we're going to tie this off. I might do it twice. I'm probably going over top of this, but just in case, if you need to leave a little extra to weave it in. Now we're going to attach a new piece, and again, however you're used to attaching, you can do. I will be making my knot with a loop on the end, leaving some tail to either crochet over or weave in at the end. And make sure you're still on the right side. So this is what the wrong side is going to look like. That's where your little tails should be. You should have this on this side, I'm assuming. You just want all your stitches to be the same way. So this is the right way, the wrong way where this line is, and this is the right way. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so you're going to insert in your next stitch over right here. Put your yarn on your hook, bring it through. Try and keep that knot on the back side if you can. And we're just going to chain 1 just to attach our yarn. That's not counting as a stitch. Now, starting in that same stitch, we are going to do 3 half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to do 1 increase, 4 single crochet or half double crochets 4 times. So increase, half double crochet, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then 4 half double crochets. I wrote single crochets, I don't know why. 1, 2, 3, 4. This whole hat is half double crochet. So if I accidentally say single crochet, I mean half double crochet. Okay, half double crochet increase. And 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll also have it written across the top the whole time. Half double crochet increase. And 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half double crochet increase. and 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to chain 1 and turn. Okay, back row 6, we are going to start off with 3 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to do 1 half double crochet increase and 5 half double crochets 4 times. So half double crochet increase and 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half double crochet increase, 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half double crochet increase, 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half double crochet increase. I'm still on my increase. And 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to probably have to squeeze in there really good. Try and make sure you get through both of those V's. 5. Oop. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, back row 7, 31 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and dig in that last stitch, 31. All right, this next row we're going to be attaching our front and our back. So we're going to go in our first stitch here, and if you have a hard time figuring it out, you find your first half double crochet, and here's your chain. So you want to go right here, kind of behind that first half double crochet. So I'm going to slip stitch in there. I'm going to chain 1 and we're going to start in that same stitch. So row 8, we're going to do 44 half double crochets all the way around, joining this side as we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'm going to kind of do something a little tricky here. I'm going to go into this one and into the next one on the other side for my 13th stitch, just so those are kind of attached. Otherwise there's kind of a bit of a split here when you go. I think I was on 13. If we're off by a stitch, I'm not too concerned. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and I am off one stitch, so I'm just going to go in here and do 44. And I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch and chain 1. All right, this next row is a little bit tricky. We're going to be doing front or half double crochet front post, half double crochet back post. So you're going to yarn over for your half double crochet, and you're going to come on the front side, go under your next stitch and up. Then you're going to grab your yarn, you're going to pull through, you're going to have those 3 loops on your hook, and then you're going to pull through the 3 loops. So that's your front post, and it comes to the front. For the back post, you're going to yarn over, you're going to come to the back side, you're going to come up and around the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull through, and then pull through your 3 loops. And that one will kind of go to the back. So I'll do that slow one more time. So we're going to do a front loop now, yarn over, come to the front, come down and around that next stitch, grab your yarn, pull through, grab your yarn, pull through. And we're going to do on the back side, so yarn over, come to the back side, go around the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull through, grab your yarn and pull through. Okay, I'm going to speed up. So we got front post, back post, front post, back post, front post, back post. Oh, I'm going to redo that one because I caught some thread. Back post. Front post. 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 Back post. Almost at the end here. Front post, and then a back post right there. And then I'm just going to slip stitch and tie off, leaving enough of a tail for weaving in. Whew. That's not fun, I know. So I'm going to fold my inside. I'm going to weave in one end. I should have went over all these ends. Just in case you've never weaved in an end before. And then I'm going to do the other ones off camera. So you're just going to thread one of your tails on. And I usually like to go across the V's of the stitch. So I'm going to go this way, and I'm just going to go back and forth a couple of times. You can get more detailed and you can go into all the stitches. This is not being worn, it's just going to be sitting on the bear, so I'm not too concerned about it coming off. So I'm going around a stitch and then back. And you can do this as many times as you want. I tend to do at least 4 times. Make sure you go around the stitch and not out in the same stitch you went out. Oh, looks like 3 because my needle came off. And then you're just going to trim that. Okay, I'm going to do these and then I'm going to come back and see if it fits. Fingers crossed. Okay guys, let's see if she fits. Remember, you want where your holes are on the shorter end of your hat. So this is your longer end. That's your front. Put one ear in. And put the other ear in. So far so good. Ah, it does fit. Yay. Now, if you skipped sewing your ears on, what you're going to do is place the hat where you want it, and then you're just going to stick a pin right in the top corners, and that's where you'll start sewing on your ears, going straight down, and you should have no problem with fit. All right, let's do the little scarf now, and it's just going to be chaining. So you can start any way you prefer, but do leave yourself a bit of a tail so you can either weave in the ends or if you want to make a little frill at the end. So I'm just going to be making my knot with the loop. And we are going to chain 61. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, and 61. And now all we're going to do, if you want to do a small one, 60 single crochets. If you want to do the size I'm doing, I'm going to do 60 half double crochets. And if you want your scarf a little wider, do 60 double crochets. So starting in that second chain from the hook, 60, whatever you chose to do, crochets. So half double crochets for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. It's a little late now to mention it, but make sure your chain isn't twisting as you're going. 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. And then tie off, again leaving a bit of a tail. Okay, and I'm just going to tie mine at the end, because see how mine is rounded on this end a bit? So I'm just going to tie mine so it's rounded a bit on this end. You can do little frilly edges if you want. Just tie some little scraps on if you have some left over. I'm just going to weave these in. Make sure I'm on the back side. Go up and down a few times if you want. I'm just going to go straight up for this video. Pull it a bit in case you've cinched that in. Cut your ends. And then we can just tie that on around his neck. And of course you can make it longer or shorter. And there we go. Made a cute little polar bear. And then one last piece, if you want to add claws to his little feet, you're just gonna thread on whatever color you want to make the claws. You're going to take his foot so that you have the bottom of his foot here, the toes up on top. Find the center just above the little black colored pad, and you're going to just go right into that hole. That's going to be the center of your foot. You're going to come up somewhere in the black. You're going to come one stitch beside your pin. Leave a little bit of string on the bottom for tying and putting back in. You're going to come fairly straight up. You're going to go 2 rows up and into that second hole there. So 1, 2. You're going to skip a hole on the bottom, go into that next hole. You're going to go 2 rows up, 1, 2. You're going to skip that hole and go into the next hole. And that's your 2 claws on one side, and now you're going to go over to the other side. So, and just repeat what you did the other way. So right in the hole beside your center pin. 2 rows up and 1 stitch over from your last claw. Go down 1 hole over from this claw that you just finished making. 2 rows up and 1 hole over, and then out wherever you started, and there's your 4 little claws. Then you're just going to tie that up. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want to pull the stitches. Then you're going to rethread on your yarn. And then pull it out the back somewhere. And again, you don't want to pull that too tight. Once it's through, you're just gently going to take the other ends out. Give those a cut. And then if you need to, we'll just swipe that little piece back out of the way. And then you'll just continue the other one exactly the same way. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.